Thanks, Justin. Again, thanks for having me. It's an honor. Thanks, coaches, for joining. This is a similar talk I gave at the AFCA and last week as well for Coach Camarillo's Zoom clinic, and got a lot of good feedback. So just wanted to share with the coaches, and if you can get one or two things out of it, that'll be great. And like I said, I pride myself on answering questions and helping coaches out as much as I can, and emailing them the PowerPoint or whatever. So feel free to hit me up with anything, and we'll have a discussion as well after the presentation. So we'll get started. Today, I'll talk about our off-season structure, how we do things in terms of physical development, but also how we build our culture from basically December to June. So a little bit about me. My name is Masaki Matsumoto. I'm the head coach at Lincoln High School. That's in Tacoma, Washington. It's about 30 minutes south of Seattle. I grew up in Seattle, Washington, and I attended King's High School up north in North Seattle. Went on to play college football at a small NAIA school, Trinity University in Chicago. I hold a credential in special ed and physical education. I started out as a physical or a special ed teacher, but now I'm doing weight training at Lincoln High School. I've been teaching for 11 years, coaching for 13. Just finished my 8th season as a head coach and my 5th year at Lincoln. I was at a different school prior for 3 years. So today's talk, we'll talk about what culture is. I'll also talk about who I am, because I am the driver of the culture, because I'm the head coach. And I would say, if you're running a company or a program or anything, the CEO or the head coach must be the driver of the coach or the culture. So with that being said, they must know who they are. And then we'll talk about some of the Lincoln's culture. We call it Lincoln DNA. That's who we are. And then December to June layout in terms of physical and culture development. And then we have a lot of incentives for our players, especially during the off season. But we'll talk about the main one that we do, and then we'll have some Q&A. So this is my 8th, 8 years of being a head coach. I took over a struggling program in 2012. They were 4-36 from 2008 to 2011. And first year, we were able to turn it around pretty quick. And then the line represents when we started to do our morning workout, which is the cornerstone of our program at Bernstein and now at Lincoln. And obviously, we've been pretty successful, we have great coaches and we have great players, but I believe that our morning workouts and the culture that we build has been a big part of our success. And these are at 2 inner city schools, both Title I, low income. And again, it's been a blessing to be able to have the success that we have had. So the first question I want to answer is, what is culture? The phrase that I always use is culture eats strategy for breakfast. And I truly believe that, because, you could have great X's and O's and great scheme, but if the players are selfish and they're not playing for each other and they're doing their own thing, it really doesn't matter what defense or offense you run. And even if you have a lot of talented players, again, if they're doing their own thing, they're not going to block if they're not getting the ball, or they're just playing for themselves. I don't think you're going to have the success that you could have if you had the right culture. So culture, the definition that I like is by Brian Kite. I'm sure most of you know who he is, but it's what you believe, how you behave, and the experience you deliver to each other. And I highlighted believe because it really is what you believe, and that's what you're going to make the culture of your team, right? So the question I ask the audience is, do you as a leader have a plan to create a culture, right? And it's important to create that culture intentionally, because it's going to be created regardless, either by design or by default. And as a head coach, I always want to create my design or create my culture instead of just letting it happen. Because if you just let it happen, it's probably not going to be a good one. So my belief is that leaders create the culture and they push the culture, right? And then the culture drives the behavior, and then the behavior produces the results. So since the culture is led by is set by the leader, he or she must know what they believe and what they stand for, right? So again, the question I ask the audience is, do you as a leader know who you are, right? And so I asked that question, not, trying to put you guys down or to question who you are, but I asked that because I didn't know who I truly was as a person, as a leader, because I was never really forced to think about it until I came to Lincoln in 2015. So when I got to Lincoln, I was replacing pretty much a legend, John Kitna. He played in the NFL. He was a quarterback, and he went to Lincoln actually. And so when he retired from the Seahawks, he went to Lincoln and took over that program and turned it around. And he was there for 3 years, and then he decided to take a high school job in Texas. And so at that time, I was looking to come back up to the Pacific Northwest from LA because my mom was getting older, and Lincoln, obviously opened up because of John Kitna leaving, and I took over. And that first year, I thought I knew, who I was and what I wanted the team to look like, because we did have success in LA, but quickly I realized I didn't, because, I got a lot of pushback when I got there. And, I don't blame the kids. They were hurt that, their coach left, and some, new guys coming in and, changing some things. And I got questioned a lot, hey, well, Coach Kitna didn't do this, or we didn't do that last year. And because I didn't think about who I was and what I stood for and what my values were, because really what your value is, right, is probably going to be what the program that you run's values, right? And so I wavered a lot, oh, well, you don't like this, though, well, then we'll do this then. Or, oh, well, you don't want to do this, okay, fine, we'll do this. And so that year, even though we went 10-1, I almost stepped down, just because, again, it was such a tough season for me. But again, it was my fault because I didn't go into that situation, again, knowing who I was and having that foundation of who I am as a person and as a head coach. So it's important. A lot of young coaches ask me, hey, coach, if you could give me one advice, what would it be? And I said, come up with your own philosophy, your values, etc., before taking over a job. And so this is something that I created after that season. I read the book Win Forever by Pete Carroll, and he encourages all the coaches to make a pyramid like this. And he challenged me, through his writing, obviously, to write down my value. What do I value in life? Because again, what you value in life is probably what you're going to value in football, right? And how you run your program. And then the style that you're going to do it in, and then your philosophy. And your philosophy has to be 25 words or less. That's something he really stresses, because it should be quick and it should be something that you can remember. So I did that. It took me about a couple months, from January to March, again, after that first season at Lincoln, where I almost stepped down. And I said, you know what? Okay, my values, these are the 4 things I value. I'm a man of faith. Love, love is the cornerstone of faith, right? And I want to be dependable to other people, because really that's what love is. Accountability. I'm someone who needs accountability, and I also like to give accountability. And then discipline. I like to think I'm a disciplined person. I always tell people I'm not very smart, so I have to really be disciplined to be even with the guys who are doing it well. The style, I like to think I'm pretty humble. I'm very organized. I'm type A, so I have to be. I do have a teachable spirit. When I became a head coach, I made a goal that I would visit 3 successful coaches every offseason. And I've kept that every year for the last 8 years, and I've learned so many great things. And the things I'm going to talk about today, I've stolen. Right, great coaches are great thieves, and so but you have to have a teachable spirit in order to go visit, because you can't think you know it all. I'm a collective person. I like to address team success over individual usually. Again, I have a good work ethic because I have to compensate for my lack of intelligence. And then I always like to find teachable moments. I will stop drills. I will stop practice to point out a great teachable moment for kids, whether it's a good one or a bad one. And again, I got that from Bob Ladderster. He said that great coaches find teachable moments. And, I've kind of hung on to that. And then that brings me up to my philosophy at the top level. And that's to build champions with love and accountability. And I truly think in order to have an effect on kids and even people, you have to have both, because if you have just love, it's just, you'll be singing Kumbaya songs around the campfire and everyone will be happy, but you probably won't have a great program or a great company. And if you have just accountability, right, then there becomes resentment or burnout, and, people start feeling angry. So I think you got to have combination of both, and I think if you love someone, you are going to hold them accountable, right? Because you care more about their success than how you may make them feel at that moment. So that's my pyramid that I created. Again, this has helped me, and this has really shaped what the Lincoln, philosophy this has shaped Lincoln's philosophy, because again, I'm the head coach, and my personality, my values are going to be what your team's values most likely are going to be, because you are the driver of that culture. So now we'll talk about what that culture is at Lincoln. So our vision statement, which is our why, or the North Star, as I call it, right? When I'm faced with tough decisions, or when I'm, in a difficult spot as a head coach, I look at this vision statement and I'm able to make a decision based on what's right and not based on what's selfish or, whatever. And the vision statement is to build champions on and off the field and help them become productive citizens while relentlessly pursuing championships. So obviously we want to, pursue championships and do the things that champions do, whether it's in the weight room or the, football field. But really the first goal of our program is to build champions on and off the field. And we always tell kids, champions aren't the ones holding the plaque, right, at the end of the season. Champions are the ones that are doing things the right way, right, who are committed, who are unselfish, who care about other people. And ultimately, because we're teaching those things, they become productive citizens. And one, quick story, 3 years ago, we were playing for the league title. So obviously it was a big game. And if we won it, we would win it outright. If we lost it, we would tie them for our league title. But we have a rule within our team that if you have an F or a D, you get 1 week to raise it up. Otherwise, your playing time gets affected. And our player, who's at TCU now, so obviously he's a great player, he couldn't get his Spanish grade up. And at that moment, I said to myself, all right, well, we probably need him to win. But if our vision statement says to build, to produce productive citizens, then I can't just play him just because he's good and let him get away with whatever. And so we decided to sit him down just because that was our team rule. And we ended up losing that game. Now, obviously, it wasn't just because of him. We played terrible. But, that night I was able to sleep with peace because I followed the North Star. I followed the vision, right? And so it's important for yourself and the program to have a vision, which is your why and North Star. And then that brings us to our core covenants. We believe that, if we follow these things and make these promises to each other, because that's what a covenant is amongst coaches and players, that we can get to that vision. And the first one, and you can see, right, a lot of these covenants are reflection of my values in that pyramid, right? So number one is love is you can depend on me. And we always tell our kids, love is not a feeling or emotion. It's an action, right? and being dependable to the people you love. Ownership, it's my life, so it's my responsibility, right? We tell our players, you should never ask someone to do something that you can do for yourself. Accountability is holding myself and each other to high standards. And then discipline, what I want in the future is more important than how I feel now. And so those are four covenants, core covenants that are driven every day by our coaches and our players. And then lastly, our core values, which we define as non-negotiable standards. And so non-negotiable means if you break these things, you are held accountable, right? Something can't be non-negotiable and not something happen if they're broken. And so number one is always protect the team. And I like that because it covers a lot of things. And we tell our kids, hey, when you have your own family, your choices affect other people now. So it's just the same thing. If you join our team, understand that your choices affect other people. Number two is respect everyone, especially women. Number three, be honest. We can always work with you if you make mistakes, but it's hard to work with you if you're not willing to be honest. Be on time. Nick Saban says if being on time shows that you care. And so that's important to us. And then lastly, obviously, no drugs or alcohol. Nothing ruins inner city kids' lives more than drugs and alcohol. So again, all these things our kids are held accountable for. So we'll talk about what we do December to June now. Okay. Why December to June? We focus on creating our culture from December to June because it's the start of the new season, right? New season for us isn't August or even June during spring ball. Our new season is in January when we start our morning workouts. So we create that culture from December to June. And then from June to November, then that's when we protect our culture, right? Once the culture is created, then we got to now protect it. But we don't want to create it in June. It's too late by then, we believe, right? And also, we can't afford to not see our kids for 6 months. So if we just don't see our kids at all from December to June, it's scary to think what will happen to some of our kids, just because a lot of our kids need that structure and they need those mentors around them all year. And Bob Lattiser said, you don't teach accountability by giving them 6 months off. And so again, we pride ourselves in that January to June workouts. So in December, we have a meeting for all interested players for next season, right? Right before Christmas break. I like to do it before Christmas break so the kids can, take the calendars home and discuss it with their parents and figure out rides, et cetera, because it is at 5:45 a.m. And so they got to figure things out, right? And look at maybe the city bus schedule, et cetera. And that's when I become a car salesman because I have to sell all these things. I have to sell the vision. I have to sell our core covenants and values. I have to sell our off-season goals, and most importantly, our 5:45 a.m. workouts, the cornerstone of our program. Obviously, naturally, most people don't want to wake up at 5. So again, I have to sell it. Here's a few slides that we use from our meeting this past season. Okay, so we always go over our 4 goals for the off season. Okay, it's to build a championship culture, which is again our core covenants, right? Of love, ownership, accountability, discipline. Focus on academics, obviously, right? Make an impact in the school and community, and then lastly, outwork everyone in the state. And the phrase we always like to use is being blue collar. And this is probably the most important slide in that presentation when I meet with the players in December. I go over the pros and the cons of why we go in the morning. And so again, you got to be a salesman, right? And so I try to sell them. Number one, we can all be together, right? Because there's nothing going on at 5:45 a.m. So I know that everyone can get there if they want to. Gets you mentally tougher because it has to, you're doing something that's tough, waking up and getting to a workout. Body is fresh, so better results, it's proven. Opportunity to eat more, right? If you're waking up and doing a morning workout, you're going to eat breakfast, and we provide them with protein after. So we know that they're, eating more. They learn to prioritize their time. If they know they have to wake up at 5, they're going to do their homework earlier, not play video games too late, and they're going to go to bed. They can go to tutoring after school. They have more time to invest in the people and community after school. They're able to play other sports. Obviously, that's a big one. They can go to, they can get, a job after school. And then this is a big one for us as well. They can get to first period on time, right? Because if they're already at school, we give them 35 minutes to shower and they can get to first period. And some of our kids, unfortunately, they may not come to school at all if we didn't have our workouts. So again, that's another big benefit. Attendance goes up, then grades go up, obviously, right? And then the one con we always talk about and we kind of laugh about is that you have to wake up earlier. So we believe that the pros heavily outweigh the con of coming in the morning. Just so you guys know, we're not in Texas or California. We don't have a athletics period. And so again, we don't have a football class, and that's why this is so important for us. All right, so our off-season schedule, I thought I had to be cool and spell season like that, so forgive me. I want to, fit in with the kids. All right, so here we go. Physical development, okay? From January to February, it's a lot of conditioning, right? We're in Washington, so we're inside the gym. We're not on the track because it's rainy and cold. So it's a lot of running. And then in the weight room, after we get through our circuit stations in Aid Maker, which I'll explain later, we focus on mass and strength. The second quarter, so we break up our offseason into 4 quarters like a football game. February to March, we start working on running technique, 40s, stuff like that. Drill intro of like agility drills like Pro I, L drill, etc. And the explosive jumps. We're really trying to get them ready for our combine testing that we do at the end of March. And we kind of make it a big deal and, try to emulate like an NFL combine. And then in the weight room, mass and strength continued. Then we get to April and May. And after the combine, now we get to our black crew competition, again, which I'll get to later. Now we start working on quickness and explosive stuff in the gym. And then in the weight room, we go a little bit lighter and we start focusing on explosive lifts and bar speed to try to get them ready for a spring ball. Because in football, you're not going to move slow. So we want to get them to, move the bar faster. But we're still going heavy enough to develop size and strength. And then June to August, which is the summer, which I won't really talk about because, again, this talks about December to June. We work on speed and conditioning, more position-specific stuff, and then muscle endurance and mental toughness to get them ready for the season. So continue with physical development. February to March, okay? So, again, right after we do our Aid Maker, which is what sets the culture, the first thing we go into are the 3 groups. And we got this from Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. We break up our players into A, B, C group. A group is more advanced returners, right? And they're already pretty strong. And so we focus more on, complex movement, stuff like that with them, okay? B group is, again, advanced as well. They're returners, but they do need to gain some more mass, okay? And then beginners are C group is the beginners. They're newer players, maybe new to the program, and their focus is on strength and mass, but emphasis on teaching technique. And we love this because there's no reason why A group should be lifting with C group, right? Because either A group's going to get held back because we're catering to C group, or C group's going to suffer because we're trying to cater to the A group and they're not getting taught technique. So we write 3 different workouts for them when they come into the weight room. So the way we break up our morning when we're in the ABC group is they'll be in the gym for 20 minutes. As you can see, they'll be doing running stuff in the gym. They'll be in the weight room for 20 minutes. And then they'll be in the hallway doing injury prevention, flexibility, and core. And every 20 minutes, they rotate. So each group will hit the gym, weight room, hallway every day. And again, in the weight room, there's 3 different workouts to cater to the different 3 groups. So you can see the picture here. So let's look at the top left. Here's an example of a group doing running technique, right, with their arms. They're sitting on the floor. And then some explosive stuff with med balls here, okay, on the top right in the gym. Bottom left is the weight room. Obviously, we're lifting. They're doing bench that day. And then bottom right is the hallway, injury prevention, core flexibility, and they're doing some shoulder workouts because, again, obviously shoulder is important in football. And then February to March, in terms of running, so in terms of running, again, like I said, they're doing more conditioning stuff, so gassers, suicides, longer sprints, right? And then in March, I told you guys we start working on running form, right? Prepping for the test for the end of March, jumping, cone drills, etc. Okay. And then the weight room, again, heavier weight, lower reps. We're trying to get their mass and strength up, and we'll do some maxes for our core lifts. And like I said, at the end of March, we test in the 40, pro agility, vertical, and broad. So again, in March, we start prepping them for that. And then April to May, that's again during our competition. They'll be doing some of these things in the gym, cone drills, shorter sprints, plyos, reaction drills where a coach will drop a tennis ball and whoever can grab it first, stuff like that. Gladiator drill, like tug of war, stuff like that to build more toughness. And then some games like we'll do like ultimate basketball, ultimate football outside if the weather's nice, etc. to kind of keep it more fun. And then in the weight room, it's more explosive lifts. Like I said, now the weight lowers a little bit and we focus on good bar speed, lower weight, higher reps, right? And but still heavy enough to develop mass and strength. But again, our focus is now try to get them ready a little more for spring ball. So hey, faster bar speed and quicker movements in the weight room. And then June, during spring football and team camps in Washington, we can put on pads for spring ball. So, we want to kind of cater to that, right? So to accommodate for spring ball, we don't load the spine. So we don't do squats. We don't load the wrist. So we don't do cleans. So instead we'll do like high pulls, right? And then going into the summer, we'll do our maxes, okay? But the squat max would have been done prior because, again, we don't squat during spring ball. And we got that from the University of Nevada strength coach, and we thought that was a great idea. So now we'll get into our culture development. So this is how we break it up. January to February, usually about 3 to 4 weeks, we're in the aid maker phase. And that's really our cornerstone of our culture development. We'll do the Black Crew competition in April and May, and that kind of leads us into spring ball and end of our morning workouts. And then January to May, basically the whole off season, we do what's called the winter circle, and then we break up our Monday through Thursday because we don't work out on Fridays into days. So mindset Monday, thankful Tuesday, wisdom Wednesday, competition Thursday, and I'll go into that. All right, so Abe Maker. We're the Lincoln Abes, so it's really the making of an Abe, right? It's to create the culture we want, which is our core covenants put into action, and we stay in the Abe Maker until that happens. So the 5 things we want to happen in the Abe Maker is this. We got to learn to love one another. And we show that in Abe Maker by speaking names and speaking life into teammates and cheering them on. So if you're the one that's not running the gasser, then you are speaking someone's name and encouraging them. Because if you speak someone's name, they're going to run harder, and that makes us better as a team. Number 2, maximal effort. Everything's done 100%. Number 3, do the little things, because we believe doing the little things will lead to big things. The R factor, learn how to control your emotions and reaction. And then number 5, leadership. Who will emerge as a leader and help carry others along? So those are the 5 things we're trying to do during Abe Maker. So how does it work logistically? We break the team up into 2 groups, right? So there's usually about 60 to 70 kids. And so, 30, 35 will go in the weight room, and 30, 35 will go in the gym. And they're in there for about 30 minutes, and then they'll switch at half because, again, our workouts are usually about hour and 15 minutes. Okay. And then we make sure that leader types and returners are dispersed evenly because we need leaders and leadership in both groups. So in the gym, we break the kids into 3 groups. Again, this is all before the ABC group. Okay, so these are pretty much just random kids in the gym and in the weight room. But we do break them up in the gym into 3 groups, whether they're bigs, skills, or speed. Okay. Each group must complete 6 to 8 perfect gassers. So first couple weeks, it'll be 6. And then, maybe the last 2 weeks, we'll move it up to 7 or 8. Okay. But they must complete whatever we give them that day. Right. When one group is running, the other 2 groups are speaking names and cheering on a teammate. We always say, just pick one teammate and just speak their name, right? And encourage them. Okay. And then if it's not loud enough, the whole group has jump squats. So the group that is running, right? Like I said, they have to run a perfect gasser. And so what does that mean? Okay. Number 1, they have to start behind the line, toes behind. If they're not, then it's not perfect. They must start on a coach's movement, not on sound. We got that from Dabo Sweeney, right? Plays don't start on a whistle, right? So we make them go on a movement by a coach. All must touch a specific line on the basketball court. So before each rep, we'll tell them which line they have to touch. And you've been on a basketball court, right? There's other lines like volleyball court lines and all that. So it's easy to get confused. But again, that's where they got to focus. All must touch the line with the correct hand before each. So before each sprint, we tell them, hey, this line with your right hand. And so everyone must touch it with their right hand. Next one is all must touch the line, obviously, right? And then all must run through the finish line and not pull up early. And then all must give great effort. And then lastly, no complaining, blaming, or defending at any point. So if we say, hey, John didn't touch the line, you got to go again, then we don't want to see any arms flailing or smacking the lips, rolling their eyes. They got to be able to say, hey, let's move on to the next play, right? And so if any of the above is not done by just one player, the same group must run again immediately, right? So if the bigs just go and one person maybe didn't touch the line, okay, they have to go immediately again, and the other 2 groups have to continue to cheer them on. But as they have to repeat gassers, it lessens their chances of finishing 6 to 8 perfect gassers in the 30 minutes that they have. And so that's when they start, kind of panicking, and they got it. That's when leaders got to step up and say, hey, let's get this done. So this is what it looks like. Oh, no, it's not playing. Okay. Dang it. All right. Yeah, so this is, I don't know why it's not working, but this is the gassers that they're running, and you can see that they're all behind the line and they're looking at the coach because they got to go on their movement. And then the guys in the back are the guys who aren't running at that point, but then they got to speak names. Okay. And then again, it's probably not going to play up. This was the video of them all touching the black line with the correct hand. I apologize about this, guys. And then this was a video of all the players doing squat jumps because the speaking names wasn't loud enough. Okay. All right. So in the weight room, okay, we break the kids into groups of 3. Okay. There's 10 stations, and each station has 3 exercises, right? So 3, because there's 3 in a group, each person will have a exercise to do at a station. Okay. All their exercises are body weight and plyos and light lifts. Okay. So like burpees, squat jumps, mountain climbers, they'll bench the bar, curl the bar, right? We don't care about weight at all at that point. Okay. We're looking for effort. So once the whistle blows, each player is lifting for 15 seconds, and they have to lift for 15 seconds with good technique. The next whistle, okay, each player stops and gets ready for the next exercise. So they'll switch within their group, right? And that's working on their communication. And again, they're hustling because they only get 15 seconds to kind of rest, but also switch to the next thing. Once all 3 players have done the lifts at the station, they run to the next station and get ready. Okay. So the group in the weight room must, get through the 10 stations in 30 minutes. Kids are giving maximal effort and going the whole 15 seconds. We call it we want 15-second warriors, right? Kids are giving quality reps, okay? So good push-ups, good sit-ups, etc. Kids are not walking when they transition to the next station. Again, kids are speaking life and cheering each other on. So at some stations, instead of having like burpees or push-ups, it'll just say speak names. So that's all they need to do at that station is encourage someone else. Kids are working on communication, right? Again, when they get to the station, they only have 15 seconds to figure out who's doing what. Again, no complaining, blaming, or defending, because again, if the effort's bad or if they're not transitioning fast, everyone has squad jumps. So again, we don't want them to, smack their lips or flare their arms, etc. Right? Move on to the next play. So at the bottom here, if any of the above is not done by just one player, again, the whole group has squat jumps, and it lessens the chance of them getting through all 10 stations. So again, I don't think the video is going to work, but this is the A maker in the weight room. Everyone's, doing their stations, and you'll see some of the guys walking around. They're the ones that are like speaking names and encouraging them. Marcel here, he's in street clothes because he has a track meet that day, but he still wanted to be there and encourage. And then here was a video of all of them doing squat jumps because someone probably messed up or they weren't transitioning fast enough. Again, I apologize, guys. The videos would have been helpful. And we talked about the last thing we wanted to do during A Maker, right, is to teach leadership. Okay, it is heavily taught during the A Maker phase. We always tell our players, leaders aren't born and they're not the best players necessarily. Okay, leaders set the example, but also help others along. Leaders are going to be inconvenienced, and leaders must care about others succeeding, not just themselves, right? And so an example of how we teach leadership during A Maker, let's say a kid struggles to touch the line in the gasser, right? Well, a leader isn't just going to say, oh, come on, man, touch the line. That's not being a leader. You're just yelling at them, right? So we tell them, hey, if you're going to yell at them, why don't you go run next to them and make sure he touches the line, right? So he's gonna be inconvenienced. Now he's going to have to go run a gasser and make sure another person is going to touch the line, right? But that's what leaders have to do. That's what we teach them, right? That it's not just about yourself. When you're a leader, you have to make sure others are, succeeding as well. And in the weight room, let's say, one day a kid was struggling. Well, next day, make sure you're in that group of 3 with him, right? So you can kind of help him because he struggled yesterday. So those are some of the things that we are teaching during A Maker. So the key to the A Maker, though, guys, at the bottom here, we are out of the A Maker phase when the coaches feel the culture is set, right? So I got to tell you guys, players want to, start lifting heavy. They want to do their maxes. They want to do all that. But they can't get to that until they're out of the A Maker. And they hate A Maker, right? Because all you're doing in the gym is running gassers. And all you're doing in the weight room is body weight exercise, and they're dying, right? But it's up to them really to get out of the A Maker phase, right? And especially the leaders. So we get them out of the A Maker phase when there's little to no redos, right? There's little to no redos of any gassers because they're being ran perfectly. Players are starting to correct each other, not coaches. And then we see those things consistently. So we have some years where, they were in the A Maker 2 weeks because great leadership, right? And there's some years where they're in A Maker for 4 to 5 weeks. But again, that's on the players, and they gotta, step up and make sure things are happening so they can get out of the A Maker. But let me tell you, when we announce to them that they're, we're done with the A Maker, I mean, people are jumping around and high-fiving each other, hugging each other, because it is difficult. But this is how we set our culture. And then the other big thing we do is Black Crew competition. This is in April and May. And again, this is how we kind of end our morning workouts leading into spring football. And the goal is competition and peer accountability. It's a 6-week competition between 8 teams, 16 captains, 2 captains per team, right? and the captains will pick their teams recess style. So they all stand against the bleachers and they pick their players. And then once the teams are set, they pick a mascot name, and then they meet as a team and get each other's phone numbers, create a phone tree, and figure out rides, etc. So that each team can be successful. Okay. So they earn and lose points through these things: morning workout attendance and tardy, gym and weight room competition. So everything in the gym at that point is versus two teams, and they're competing against each other. Individual team GPA average. If they do a school or a community service, once a week, they get points. Behavior in school. If I get an email about Johnny sleeping in class and he's on the Trojans will lose points. Meeting deadlines, right? So if we are requiring them to get physicals, or we're doing fundraisers at that point, if they meet those deadlines and turn stuff in on time, and that team will get points. And then whatever else is important to your team. Okay. Every Monday, the captains will get a breakdown from last week on who earned them points and who lost them points. And their thing is they have to come up with a solution before they break, and they get the first period, right, in that little meeting with their team. The winning team will get shirts, gear first, and pride. And again, it works on peer accountability because now they're playing for something, right? So now if Jeremiah misses a workout, it's not me chasing him down. It's the captains chasing him down in the lunchroom and saying, "Hey, where were you today? You cost us 5 points," right? So again, it creates that competitiveness and peer accountability. And last year, the stepchildren were the 2019 champs. And so this is what the schedule looks like for Black Crew competition. You'll see, let's say Monday, okay, the Silverbacks versus the Raiders, Huskies versus the Fighting Irish. Okay, so they're in the weight room, they're lifting, right? And then in the gym, the U versus the Ducks, Cardinals versus the Senders. So pro agility, right? Broad jump, L drill. Everything's a competition between these two teams. Again, the video probably won't work, but the competition between was these two teams, and they were supposed to push the bags, and then basically a bag push relay. And then this was between these two teams, Khalil and Kareem. They did one broad jump, and whoever jumped the farthest, that team got points. So all the drills that we do is between two teams, and kids get really into it because it's a competition. So this is the point breakdown that the captains will get every Monday, like I talked about, right? So let's say, if you guys can look with me, let's look at the Ducks, okay? So it'll tell them who missed last week and how many misses they have total, who was late last week and how many tardies they have total, okay? The competition in the gym, they earned 75 points. Behavior, they lost 30 points last week because Isaiah was talking back to a teacher, okay? And obviously they didn't do so great in terms of GPA because they only got 10 points out of, I think, like 120 points, okay? And so they'll get this, and the captains will see it first, and then they meet with their team and figure out solutions. Hey, what's going on with that teacher? Why are you talking back to them, right? Hey, I had that teacher. This is what you should do. So all these conversations are happening. And then, like I said earlier, we break up our days into 4 different, days, and we give purpose to it. So Mindset Monday, it's after the weekend, so everyone's tired, and so we just really stress mental toughness. Thankful Tuesday, this is something really great if you're dealing with a lot of entitled kids, or kids who are spoiled or whatever, which I know that a lot of, coaches say kids are entitled these days, but it's our job to help them with that, right? And not complain about it. So what we do on Tuesdays is, at the end of every workout, we gather the team together, and I ask them to take 1 minute to think about something that they're thankful for that they didn't earn, right? And a lot of kids will be like, "Well, what do you mean, coach? I earned everything. I worked for everything." But you got to let them know, hey, no, I don't think you earned the ride that you got this morning from your mom. I don't think you paid her. I don't think you paid for the legs that you were able to run on, right? So you give them a lot of things that they didn't earn, because we have not earned a lot of things in our life, right? That we've been given. And so you let them think about those things. And at the end, I ask about 5 kids to share what they're grateful for and why. And that's really been great for us because now kids are starting to realize, yeah, man, I have a lot to be thankful for. And really the purpose of this is I want them to realize that they are blessed. So now they're able to go bless other people. Wisdom Wednesday, we ask players and coaches to speak. We'll even bring in guest speakers, and they're just going to share some wisdom. And we do that every Wednesday. And then Competition Thursday, that's when we'll do our ultimate football or some sort of game to make it fun. So Thankful Tuesday, right? We the kids now realize, oh man, we are blessed. We have been given a lot of things that we didn't earn. So now again, we tell them, hey, well, put your money where your mouth is, and now go bless other people. And so here Armani is helping out at a festival and working with little kids. We have 3 kids here, Giovanni, Jaden, and Gabriel, working at a homeless shelter that we take them to, and then working at a youth camp, bunch of our players. So again, the number one, we want them to be thankful and grateful. But again, with that, we want them to go be a blessing to other people. And here's some Wisdom Wednesday stuff. The assistant SEC commissioner came and spoke to our kids on a Wednesday. A strength coach came and spoke to us on a Wednesday. So again, just sharing wisdom. And then one of the Wisdom Wednesdays we do is, I told you, we bring a coach or a player up, and we call it the safe seat. We got it from Dabo Sweeney, and we ask the players 3 questions. Who's your hero and why? What's the biggest hardship that you've overcome? And what's the biggest highlight of your life? And, it gets really emotional, and they start sharing their heart. But we want them to, we want our players to be transparent with each other, and at the end, the players get to ask them questions. And the last question that I always ask at the end is, hey, how can we help you? And so, they share how we can help them going forward. Because again, we always tell our kids the 2 things we got to say more as men, especially, is I'm sorry and I need help. And so this activity kind of gets that going. Winner Circle is something that we do, again, from January to June. At the end of every workout, we have kids sit in a circle by grades, as you can see in the picture. And I will put a coach in charge of that circle. And what they're supposed to do is take attendance, right? Number 1, address any issues or go over logistics for that day. And then have kids hold each other accountable and have courageous conversations. That's what we call it. So, they're in a smaller group, in a safe circle with their group, with their grade. And, we have kids share. So Johnny might raise his hand and say, hey, Nathan, I didn't like your effort today in the gassers, man. I thought you were holding back. And they're able to kind of hold a courageous conversation of accountability, right? Maybe, Michael will say to Ben, hey man, you weren't really working hard in the weight room today. Let's pick it up. So they're able to have those conversations in that circle. And then lastly, a coach will go over our concepts, whether it's our vision, core covenants, because all of our players need to know it. Wrapping up here, Champions Club, right? This is the big incentive for our morning workouts. So to get into the Champions Club, they have to make 57 out of the 64 workouts from January to June, which is about 88%. They have to have a 3.0 and no F's or D's. They must be able to recite our vision, core covenants, and core values. The perks they get for joining the Champions Club is that they get a nice dry fit Nike shirt like that. They'll receive gear and jersey number first. Okay, they got to earn everything, right? Food. They always get, we'll bring them food in the summer. They'll get a breakfast burrito, once in a while. And then if you're not in the Champions Club, you just get a boring bar, right? We'll take them to random trips during the summer, especially. They'll start out with 5 hit stickers to start the season. And then they'll get like a get out of jail card during summer and season. So let's say, so our policy in the summer is they only get 5 misses, right, for our workouts. Well, let's say a kid in a Champions Club, they have to go over their 5 misses, but it's excused, maybe, a funeral or a doctor's appointment. Well, if they're in the Champions Club, they're good. And this lasts for the whole summer and season. So again, a lot of kids want to get into this Champions Club, and that's been a really good incentive for the morning workouts to get up at 5. And that was 2 years ago, Champions Club shirt. And again, we bought them some Chick-fil-A and burritos after the workout, and the other kids didn't get any. So guys, we do this year round, obviously to create culture. Number 2, develop them physically and mentally. Develop them as football players. But most importantly, we want to transform their hearts so they can become great future workers, husbands, and fathers, and we always tell our players, football is going to end for you at some point. Even if you go to the NFL, it's going to end. But you're going to be a worker, husband, father for a long time. And so, our job as football coaches is to teach you stuff outside of football, right? So that's going to help you become better workers, husbands, and fathers. And so I believe that our off-season, schedule and the things we do allows us to do that, and that's why we take it so serious. And the quote here: "Let the light that shines in you always be brighter than the light that shines on you." And that's a Dabo Sweeney quote. And again, that's the key, I think, guys, to coach the players inside out. Because if you coach their hearts, the physical part will take care of itself. So here's my email address. Please feel free to write it down and email me anything. I can send the PowerPoint, and then that's my Twitter handle, and that's our football program's Twitter handle. If you follow that, maybe you'll get some good things and you can see some things.
Absolutely. Coach, I just opened up the chat. If anybody has any questions, drop it in there. While they're doing that, Coach, what you and I were discussing earlier, would you mind sharing some of the cool things that you guys are doing during this quarantine?
Yes, Coach. So we started this about 4 weeks ago, and we're competing against 15 different high schools. 2 are from out of the state, actually. But every Sunday night at 5 p.m., the head coaches of those schools will get on Zoom and talk about this week's challenge for our program. And so week 1 was, the first thing you got to do is make your bed, right? And so we had all the players on our team make sure they participated in that. And we give them, Monday to Sunday to see how many days they can do that. And on Sunday, they'll report to me and say, "Coach, I did 6 out of 7 days, and here's what I learned, here's what was difficult, and here's why it's important to make your bed first thing in the morning." And then on Sunday, when we get with the coaches, I report to them our score, right? And then we kind of determine that week's winner. But also, we're going to continue this competition till the quarantine's over, and we'll also have a overall winner. And then, so this week's new challenge, starting today actually, is they have to go on Twitter or Google someone inspirational and read like a tweet or quote or article, and they have to basically summarize it and write a reflection on it each day. So yeah, so obviously a lot of people are probably sending workouts to their players, but we also want them to stay sharp mentally, and so the weekly challenge is more for the mental aspect and just more for character development. So we call it the character challenge.
That's really good stuff, Coach. Couple questions here. Who keeps track of the points for each team?
So I'm assuming for a Black Crew competition, right?
Yep.
So during I pretty much do it all. It's a lot of work, but on Friday I add up all the points for that week, and then so I can make sure to give the captains that score sheet on Monday. But like one coach will be running the drill for 2 teams, right, in the gym, and then another coach will be running a drill for the other 2 teams, and they'll keep track of that, and then they'll give it to me, at the end of the workout, and I'll post the score for that day as well each day, just for the gym competition.
Absolutely. Do you have your assistant coaches complete and present their respective My Pyramid?
No, I haven't. I shared the pyramid with them, and I kind of shared my story with them too. And I know one of our coaches made his own, but I have not done that. But that's a great idea.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I like that idea. That's a really good question. Interested to see, the assistant coaches, what they come up with. I think that's really cool. Does anybody else have any other questions for Coach? Obviously, his contact information's there. If anybody wants to get in contact with him in regards to this or any of the other stuff they do, his email's there. Like you said, he's more than willing to share the PowerPoint if you guys want to check that out. But, definitely a ton of really great information. There was a message in here earlier just in regards to, that Coach loves your innovation and learned a lot, and I agree. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. And like I said, that was one of the things that him and I had spoke about a few weeks ago. I knew they did some really cool stuff. And the video he was trying to show, I think I was maybe one of the first things I saw that really kind of caught my eye was when guys were just working in the gym and you see, obviously you look at it, right, and it's like, that time, that time in the morning, you think it could drive people away, but if you watch those videos, they have great numbers there, and you saw all the pros to it. So obviously doing some really cool stuff. Yeah, but if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to him. There's his Twitter, there's his email. And once again, Coach, man, appreciate you jumping on again. Awesome job. I love the culture stuff, man. So you got me fired up for a bunch of this stuff.
Yeah, appreciate you having me, Coach.
Absolutely. I'm gonna have. I know my head coach wasn't here. I think he might have